Hello BookTube. I have a little bit of a test video that I want to make here. I mentioned in an earlier video that I had a full-blown tech catastrophe right at the end of 2022, the like of which I have not experienced before, where one Apple product after another simply failed on me in a row, in a short period of time, in a little more than a day. I wasn't at all in a position to think about it or do anything about it, and I'm still not really, so I've been experimenting in 2023 with other recording technology. Because I don't have anything right now. I don't have anything other than this to use. If one of you has a MacBook that you're not using anymore, a MacBook that's just sitting there in a cabinet somewhere, feel free to contact me. What was once before bootless tech avarice is now a genuine need. But the solution that I first wanted to have, I had fallbacks when all of that tech failed. I went to Chromebooks. I have a bunch of Chromebooks, including a couple that are fairly new, and they do everything that I want tech to do, except all in one place, filming. They will, in a pinch, serve for Zoom calls, but the test videos that I've done on them, to my eye, they look and sound bad. So I can just imagine what they would sound like to you. I just did a test video on the Chromebook that I went to right away when that cataclysm happened, and that I have absolutely fallen in love with. Nothing would make me happier than if that sturdy, rock solid, rubber bordered 11-inch Chromebook could do everything that I want. Nothing would make me happier than to have everything centered on that one device and simply not care about any of the rest of this anymore. It's totally indestructible. And it's a Chromebook, so the software is as simple as it gets. I tried a video on that machine, and it didn't look all that good. I know you don't come to this video for look or sound, but I do show you images, and I do talk about books and make recommendations. You're going to want to be able to hear that. I don't want the low tech to be distracting. I'm okay with it being there as long as it's not getting in the way. Maybe I will post that test video just so you can give me feedback on whether or not it's acceptable. But I have a feeling that this is better. I don't know. I think this recording tech looks and sounds to me better. Not as good as the recording tech that I had in 2022. So again, if you have a MacBook that you don't use, feel free to let me know. Feel free, if it's working, feel free to email me about it. I'd be happy to compensate you in Brattle books. Oh, there's the bean. Your fans were wondering about you, little girl. There's the little baby. For those of you who were a little bit upset that the early videos this year didn't have the bean in them, there she is, sound asleep on her perch. But I didn't want just a test video to be me kvetching about technology, although I've never had anything like that happen before, where machine after machine after machine failed. I blame Micah Cummins. But I wanted to show you some books, and I do actually have some books for a test video, 3 of them, that I have found at little free libraries on walks with the bean in the new year. Not all at once, but ordinarily I don't find anything. Ordinarily, the idea of picking something out of a free library seems to me to be absolutely perverse, when there are plenty of people who frequent those little free libraries who don't get books in the mail from publishers. They don't get free books in the mail. Usually the thing that I tend to do with at least one little free library in this neighborhood is to drop off books, not to pick them up. But I did get 3 books that I wanted to show you. One is from 2015. It's from right before we started talking to each other. I read it. I knew that it was substantial. I know that it's substantial, but it's this. It's 7 Eaves by Neal Stephenson. And this is a sort of a post-apocalyptic novel with a twist. Everything that he does has a twist. Most of his stuff, I think, is post-apocalyptic with a twist. And this is the story of 7 splinter groups of humanity. Humanity was blasted off its own planet and had to migrate into space, and 7 splinter groups of humanity go on and flourish and differentiate, and then achieve in the about the halfway point they conceive of a mission to return to Earth, so that you as a reader get the enjoyment, the interest of seeing how Earth has changed. And of course, you want to know whether or not there are actually people on Earth. And I, like with so much else by this author, I feel like I should be estimating him higher than I am. I feel like every element of this book, except its execution, is stellar. Just stellar. The thinking behind it, the world building, and then the world deconstruction behind it. In this book and in many other books, it's just stellar. And yet, and yet, something just doesn't work for me with this author, and never has, not from the very beginning. I don't know what that is. Honestly, I don't know what that is. And that's why I grabbed this from a little free library, because I don't know. If I knew, then I could wait, and think about it and whatnot. But since I don't know, it becomes an active question. I'd love to know what the rest of you, those of you who read Neal Stephenson, what's your relationship with this author? Do you think he's great? Just plain great? I think there's maybe a 2 to 10% chance that he is just plain great and I'm just not seeing it. Or is it, do any of you get that feeling with Anathema or Seven Eaves or anything really, his latest one I reviewed? I get the feeling that all the ingredients are here for a great meal and they're just not prepared right. Where the writing just seems to cover the pages and that's it. I don't know. I don't know. I got this from a little free library as an open question mark. And then the other two are not question marks. Like this one, I found this at a different little free library. It's brand new. It's Year of Wonders by Geraldine Brooks. This is her plague novel about a housemaid in London who deals with the Great Black Death. And the cover is anachronistic, but this is a lovely, what is this, Penguin? Yeah, this is a lovely Penguin trade paperback of this. I loved it when it first came out, and I haven't read it since then. This came out long before we were talking to each other. Yes, this came out in the early 2000s, I want to say. 2001. Yeah, 2001. So due for a reread. And it was right there. Bean and I were just walking by on a perfectly pleasant day, so I grabbed it. And then this last one I should have left in the little free library. This was extravagant on my part. I have 10 copies of this book. But I sometimes feel like there's karma involved with a little free library or, a used bookstore. I sometimes feel like if you see something that you really love and you leave it behind, you won't see anything that you really love next time. The reverse of that is probably true. This copy can't now go to somebody who doesn't have a copy, can't afford a copy, doesn't have access to a bookstore. So I will put this back. I'll probably put all three of these back in little free libraries. But I got a copy of Dune. I got a battered trade paperback. This is one of those larger size trade paperbacks of Dune. I have this very edition. I have this very edition in a hardcover. I have this very edition in a trade paperback. I have this very edition in a mass market paperback. I have plenty of other editions. I don't need another copy of Dune. But it was kind of fun to see it there and to grab it. It didn't look like this little free library had been visited in a long time. And naturally, when you get a copy of Dune, you have to reread part of it. You can't. We haven't done DuneTube in quite some time. It's been years since we did a read through of all of Frank Herbert's Dune novels. I'd certainly be up for that if anybody else would be. But I don't need to read right now. Anyway, I don't need to reread this in its entirety. So I reread the thunderous conclusion to the book. The massive climax at the end, where the action climaxes twice. Once with a battle and once with a fight, an individual one-on-one fight. And then I read all of the appendices in the back, reports about the religion of the Fremen or the activities of the Bene Gesserit or whatnot. I read those reports and then put this on a shelf. So I will repatriate this. I'll put this back in a little free library. That seems only right. I was struck when I read those appendices by a problem that I've mentioned before in connection with the Dune books, which is that Frank Herbert works in prescience. He works in large-scale, detailed precognition into his story. And he writes that story over the course of a decade or more. And there's no way to do that because prescience doesn't exist. Precognition doesn't exist. So there's no way to do that. There is no hint whatsoever in this book of Duke Leto II, the God Emperor of Dune. There's no hint whatsoever in this of that. There's no hint really in this of Leto's Golden Path. There are hints of jihad. There are hints of massive wars that Paul Atreides would like to avoid, but not the nature of those wars, and nothing about his own death. We're told in the book that he sees many different versions of his own death, but nothing about his real death, or about the fate of his sister Alia, or the fate of his children. That's none of that is there. And the reason it isn't there is not because the character's prescience wouldn't have shown it to him. It's because Frank Herbert, the human writer, hadn't written it yet. He hadn't thought about it yet. And that's always interesting to me. It doesn't detract from the reading experience at all. The reading experience is just so wonderful. So there you go. I got 3 little free library books that I'm doing. I wanted to show them to you because I show you all my books, but I also wanted to test this camera and many other cameras. I don't know how the Chromebook that I want to film on, to my own eyes, it doesn't look good enough. So I don't know what I want to. Maybe I'll do a quick mail haul on that, just to get your say so that I should not use that tech. And then who knows what? Who knows what that will be? I think that I will just rely on the potluck of whatever you might have to send me, because it doesn't seem justifiable to me to get even a second-hand MacBook. And the last 2 MacBooks that I got second-hand off eBay, the price, I could justify the price in the Imperial budget, but they were both bad experiences. In both cases, the seller simply lied about what they were selling, and as a result, the thing was worthless to me. Now, in both cases, the seller refunded my purchase, and I was left with, a 2-pound door weight. It's not just that it's also that it doesn't seem justifiable to me, because 99% of what I use a laptop for, this little sturdy Chromebook can do perfectly. It can do perfectly fine. It's just the weird idea of filming videos, which 10 years ago I wouldn't have thought of at all. I would have thought the Chromebook was the answer to a prayer, a $30 answer to a prayer. Now there's that one added thing. So maybe I'll test the Chromebook just so you can see what I'm talking about, and then I will rely on the kindness of strangers. And they don't come much stranger than you people. If you've got a MacBook that's sitting around that you don't use, maybe you've upgraded it or whatnot, and it still works, feel free to let me know and we can discuss it. But the other alternative that I haven't tried yet is to film videos on my iPad, which works just fine. It did not catch any of the Apple product virus that was going around at the end of the year. I just don't know how that would work. It's a newer machine. It's a 2019 machine. It's got a perfectly good camera. Probably got enough storage to hold on to videos, at least long enough for me to upload them. I just don't know about the mechanics. That's all. Anyway, I'm pretty sure that this is serviceable. I wanted to show you my little free library books. But I'll wrap this up, but I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.